I want to spend the duration of our time speaking about the theme of power in this series, and I want to start with a line from season two that I found especially impactful and a great summation of this series as a whole, in my opinion. It's within the first few minutes of the premiere episode. The royals are meeting the townspeople while on tour, and after a surprise reaction, Catherine turns to the camera to say, never underestimate the power of presentation. How would you even begin to articulate what all goes into the power of your presentation of this series? Because obviously, the short answer may be all the talented people whom you collaborate with, but I wonder if there's something more personal or specific that you plug into to power your creativity in your role in the making of this series and this season in particular.
Well, I think that the power of storytelling or creativity is to imagine what it's like to be somebody else, right? That's the beginning
Right.
of and if you're imagining somebody who ostensibly lives in a world that is so removed from our own, meaning a world where you live in a 490 room palace where you're considered God by the peasants. To really imagine not what makes those people inhuman or different from us, but what it would be like to live inside that kind of gilded cage,
Hmm.
and to make them as specific and relatable as modern people. The power presentation idea, we're in show business. You are presenting something to an audience within a frame. And specifically in this story, in this subject matter, when I started thinking about royalty, how did anybody ever convince somebody else that God had picked them to be king? How does anybody convince somebody else that they're better than them? And it's through glitz and glamour and gold and ostentation. And it's through a long lens looking at the 16th century, it seems absurd and over the top. But looking back at our times, we haven't lost the power of presentation as a political tool, as a powerful tool, as a tool of seduction, be it golden escalators or be it Instagram make believe lives.
Marketing is an old idea.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's true. In terms of the presentation, I've gravitated towards the show's grand display of language. There's the spoken language, but then there's also the visual one and the flow of shots within scenes, especially ones that feature a heated discussion like the ones with the Privy Council. And I'm leaning in because of the spoken language, but the character reactions you cut to bring more power to the words. How much do you know in advance that the characters who you want to get like the characters you want to get a reaction out of? Sometimes it can be the king having a raised eyebrow and then letting it down very quickly, or Catherine being completely reactionless to not give power to the person speaking. Like those power dynamics continue to fascinate me.
Well, Dan, I'm thrilled to hear you reference those because everybody knows shooting people sitting around a table talking is the biggest challenge there is, right?
Yeah.
There's nothing interesting going on. And those Privy Council scenes that you're referring to become like theater. And we had a season to learn our language, and Ed Rutherford, the DP, and and then Michał came and built on that. That we really developed the language because one of the pleasures of televisions and one of the challenges is you don't have all the time in the world. So you're not just going to cover every single person and cut it up. You have to make choices, creative choices, and anticipate where you're going to want to go. And the great pleasure about coming back for a second season is that you can surf that language, which I have the rhythms in my head having written it, but you can surf the language and take chances and cut to somebody you wouldn't necessarily cut to for that reaction and start to make a lot of those creative choices. And the more bold choices you make, I think the more dynamic those scenes become, because as you said, it is all about language and it is about influencing opinion in that room. And you can really tell a story as to when you go where in that room.